This is the Sunday magazine of today, Sunday, the 23rd of June 2024. This is part B of the Khoodeelaar television channel, being broadcast under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo. And there is this on the screen there, just underneath my image. There are two lines. One is Baby Angel Geronimo Editions Part A. It should be read as Part B. And the other one is Editor MuhammadHaque. And there are three letters that shouldn't be there. There are three letters that are there by mistake due to technology. Now this is Khoodeelaar television channel Part B. Timed broadcasting time at 11:10 hours GMT in London, within quotes UK, Sunday 23rd of June 2024. As I said, the edition is Part B, Khoodeelaar television channel, Part B, and the broadcasting time is 11:10 GMT, broadcast on the internet from London under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo Manifesto Editions. And in the contents listed on page 3 of the magazine, it talks about the cover item published on page 10, and it reads, "Follow the leader. Exclusive interview. Just who is the real Keir Starmer? Josh Glancy on the campaign trail." And on page 30 is an astonishing claim. It says, the architect Peter Barber tell Francesca Angelini how he would fix Britain's housing crisis. Absolutely outrageously false. Housing crisis is created by the UK state and by the colluders and those who control the agenda of the economy. They don't have absolutely any intention to change the housing crisis and make housing really a right available to the people. Action to the article article on page 10. In the picture by Andrew Wheaton, the caption reads, "Friends say he's a kind, funny, normal bloke. So why can't he show that side to the public?" 3 months on the campaign trail in search of the real Keir Starmer. Well, I think the side to the public is a lie. Keir Starmer is a liar. And he has been lying right throughout his career. He's a liar, he's dishonest, he's racist, and he's cruel. When he was asked in 2021 to comment on the depraved DEFRA plot against the baby angel Geronimo, the evilness personified, Keir Starmer did not hesitate before calmly endorsing the cruelty agenda against baby angel Geronimo. Now, on the front page of the Sunday Times, of course, is the picture of Taylor Swift doing a selfie with Williams and two of his children. And the heading to that picture on the Sunday Times is Pop Royalty. And the main story on the Sunday Times is top Tory placed dozens of bets on election date. And about France, especially from Provence, a troubling year in Provence, as it turns out, turns to the hard right. And on page 2, there is a piece in the news. Schools hit by VAT rise could join state sector. And on page 3, there is the heading, William shakes off dad dancing jibes to boogie at Tyler's concert. Swift business at Stadium Mega Store with 70-pound hoodies and 30-pound bracelets. It's crazy. Pretty much all of it is selling. And about the football on page 4, there is the heading, England are on the pitch, fans are on the grass. And the missing British youth, missing in Spain, is the subject of the item. Hometown praise for teenager missing in Tenerife Badlands. Inspector, we can track down your stolen mobile phone. Then it gets really tricky. Last week, we told how gangs steal devices to send to China. Dan Green explains why it's so hard to get phones back before they leave our shores, even if police know their location. And there is a piece on page 6, Election 2024. The main picture is of a horse running and losing bat. Sang Sunak is trying to catch up with the horse and ride it, but it's elusive. And the same page has got ex-football chairman hoping to net. That's Clacton, and the media is almost unanimous in peddling the line that Farage is going to actually get an MP. And the piece by Caroline Wheeler, political editor, is headed, "I'm past my sell-by date, and criticism's taken a toll," admits Gove, as he names 3 big hopes. And the 3 big hopes are Claire Coutinho, Laura Trott, and Kemi Badenoch. And Peter Kellner says, defectors to reform are pulling Tories into the abyss. And there is a long piece, not the first time in Fleet Street, but there is a long piece promoting the power Fleet Street claims that Sue Gray has. They're saying that she owns the Labour Party. She's running it. And there is a piece by Sasha Sawyer, who has been on the trail 11 times. She says, don't trust even the nice Lib Dems, and make sure you get sloshed during the big count. And the evilness West Streeting is allegedly saying he will protect the NHS whistleblowers and sack rogue bosses. And the heading is Star John, that is Nicola, is back knocking on the doors for the SNP. But are the voters pleased to see her? Well, the heading sums up the answer. which is that the S&P is not as popular as it was thought to be. And the Keir Starmer's chief of staff, Sue Gray, has never taken nonsense from high-faluting posh boys during her curious career. Her next step looks set to be Downing Street's policy guru, says Will Lloyd. And the heading is Watch Out, Sir Humphrey. And the promotion of Sue Gray is, of course, part of the entire architecture based on the hypothesis the Labour is already in power with an overwhelming landslide. It could indeed turn out to be a surprise come the 5th of July. There is a piece on page 10. Welcome to the GP surgery, where the nurses will see you instead. The GPs are getting 100 to 120,000 pounds, and advanced nurses are getting 65,000 pounds. And Andy Murray, the heading is Retire. I'm not happy about it, he says. He says he still loves tennis. There is a piece which is very odd indeed. Beckett and Guggenheim's 4 days in bed with a break for sandwiches. She was the art patron and gregarious socialite from an extremely wealthy American family. He was a struggling unknown Irish writer. When Peggy Guggenheim met Samuel Beckett the day after Christmas in 1937 at a party in Paris given by James Joyce, an intense affair began and lasted for nearly a year. Details were unearthed by the curator of an exhibition after Guggenheim at the Guggenheim at the Petersfield Museum, an art gallery in Hampshire, which is close to where she lived from 1934 to 1939. Born into a New York family that had made a fortune in mining, Guggenheim, whose father, Benjamin, died on the Titanic, spent a passionate weekend with Beckett in 1938 at her home, Yew Tree Cottage, which had been bought for £1,800 with her partner, the writer and left-wing activist Douglas Garman. Most of the affair was conducted in Paris, which she visited often. Letters on display from Guggenheim to her American novelist friend Emily Coleman reveal how much she adored Beckett. I loved being with him, she wrote, adding that he spoke seldom but never said anything stupid. I have decided to give up everything, including sex if necessary, just to be with him. We have given up sex, she said in a documentary about her her life. Guggenheim recalled staying in bed with Beckett for 4 days with only a break for sandwiches. Guggenheim's other sexual partners are said to have included the French artists Marcel Duchamp and Yves Tanguy, the American composer John Cage, and the German painter Max Ernst, who World War. In the exhibition, details emerge of an outing by Guggenheim, Beckett, and the Dutch artist Geer van Velde, another weekend guest to Hailing Island near Petersfield, where they skimmed pebbles into the sea. Beckett drove Peggy's red Delage sports car to the beach, said Wella. Peggy loved fast cars, sports cars. Guggenheim's home in Venice, where she lived from 1948 until her death in 1979, is now the Peggy Guggenheim Collection Museum. So these are the items that I'm looking at, and Emma Raducanu, who is a brand ambassador for Evian, used the refill system at last year's tournament. Now she is featured there on top of the piece about Andrew Murray. And there is the odd little piece, spite, slides, and maybe a defibrillator. The presidential debate can't be missed. And there is a piece about this man, water therapy. I'll come to the word therapy in a minute. This therapy is a TB Iceman started a global trend for cold water therapy. And there is a parent saying, our daughters tried it and died. Wim Hof's ability to withstand extreme temperatures has made him millions, but a spate of deaths raises troubling questions about the wellness methods he pioneered. This is a piece by Katie Tarrant and Karen Southern. The headings actually say it. Now, this is a piece about world news, the battle of for the billionaires. It's about Trump and Biden. This is the most expensive election in American history. And Joe Biden and Donald Trump must keep the cash from bankers, tycoons, and celebrities flowing before and after this week's television showdown. In a television debate, a bank balance won't count. The total spend is said to be over 10 billion. And there is another piece, separate piece underneath. The mafia took over a Naples hospital. They would make cocaine deliveries by ambulance. And there is this piece about Israel facing a second threat with 10 times the firepower of Hamas, which is about Lebanon. On both sides of the Israel-Lebanon border, thousands have been driven from their homes. War with Hezbollah creeps ever closer. And there is a separate piece underneath, daily bread in a war zone. The Gaza bakery helping to feed the starving. And there is this robot wars in Kiev in Ukraine. Behind an anonymous door in Ukraine's military tech hub, drones that kill as a swarm are emerging in the battle for survival against Russia. And the Philippines naval wreck could haul US into conflict with China. And there is a news review by Tim Shipman on page 17. Once politicians talked of little else, but in this election campaign, party leaders don't dare bring it up. Tim Shipman analyzes why, and it is Brexit. He says, when will we break the Brexit omerta? Kemi Badenough says it's 10 to 20-year project, and Labour would unpick it. And there is a piece about big debate. Question, should 16-year-olds get the vote? A new order for Barco, reality television treachery, and 78-pound fan videos. The former speaker's unusual new portfolio includes appearing on the traitors in the US and giving marriage advice. There is one red line. He tells Laura Pullman, hitting strictly. Before John Barker took part in the traitors, US, his teenage daughter took him on the scary rides at Thor Park as preparation for the nerve-jangling challenges ahead. The one thing I was under pressure from my family was, well, he mustn't be a wuss, Barker says, now safely back in Battersea. I'm not intrepid. I'm not your James Bond character. The former House of Commons Speaker, who is 61 and 5 foot 6 inches, isn't 007-esque in new BBC series, but is surprisingly likable as he plots with Deontay Wilder, the former boxing world champion, and a clutch of Real Housewives stars to work out who among the group are the secret traitors, killing of the innocent faithfuls. It is more difficult than anything. The man who attempted to impose all of the Brexit debates. There's a two-page, two-column piece on him. If you are peerless in your profession, the House of Lords is hiring. A little known quirk means any citizen can apply to be a peer, but he must be an expert in your field. And the interview is scary. Ben Spencer and Benetia Mangis speak to the success stories. So there is a piece. I think I'm going to check on this one, which is the Surrey Council has been found to have failed the Surrey oil well tied up in lawfare. Next, it will be Labour's hope for growth. Now, this is the piece commenting on the ruling late last week by the Supreme Court. Was it late last week? Let's check about the date here. This is a piece by Robert Colville, and it says, last week, the Supreme Court delivered a landmark verdict against Surrey County Council. It declared that in approving additional oil drilling, the council should have taken into account not just of the immediate environmental impact, but of the indirect consequences for the planet of burning oil that fuel. Delighted Greenies proclaimed it a watershed ruling that rang the death knell for oil and gas exploration in Britain. The ruling is certainly significant, far more significant than a bunch of mutton-brained numpties throwing orange paint over Stonehenge, because it shows the extent to which we are now governed not by laws, but by what you might call meta laws. What do I mean? A meta law is an overriding principle that becomes embedded within our system of government, from which all sorts of consequences cascade. The other week, for example, the European Court of Human Rights decided that the right to respect for your private life and the family life contained an implicit right to be protected from the impacts of climate change, specifically by not decarbonizing quickly enough. Switzerland had exposed its elderly citizens to an excessive risk of heat waves. Net zero had gone from a policy objective to a human right. In the Surrey case, no one who drafted Directive 2011-92 EU of the European Parliament and of the Council or the Town and County Planning Environmental Impact Assessment Regulations 2017 imagined that it would be used to block fossil fuel exploration. Indeed, it has always been a clear principle of the planning system that it does not consider such indirect effects. Last week, however, a majority on the Supreme Court brushed aside Lord Sales's objections that downstream greenhouse gas emissions are addressed by central governments at the level of national policy, and indeed that it was constitutionally inappropriate to ask local councils to set climate policy. Meta laws, in other words, lead to judicial activism because they force courts to make essentially political decisions. They also meant that government becomes ever more vehement. Now I'll read that again. They also meant that government becomes ever more hemmed in by judicial constraints. Now, this is a completely stupid analysis by Robert Colville, who is writing to order, because the concept of the organs of state, judiciary, the executive, parliament. The judiciary is supposed to be independent and independent to interpret independently of any interference from the executive, interpret the laws. Now, when the depraved DEFRA repeatedly stooged the High Court judges, especially Griffiths and Murray, to take absolutely brazenly political decisions to condemn baby angel Geronimo, the innocent baby. They did that exactly what Colville is saying they shouldn't be doing. They're not supposed to be doing. Where on earth was Colville when the judiciary was being used as a rubber stamper for the depraved murderers? DEFRA. So there is no actual independent commentary about the law and the judiciary and the constitution in any part of the media. And the case of the therapist that I referred to, the therapist, the sex therapist based in Belsize Park, who has been ordered to pay £217,000 to the victim of his rape under the pretext, under the cover of sex therapy, illustrates the complete unfitness for purpose of the judiciary, because the woman who took the action in civil action against the sex therapist was betrayed by the existing legal system, the Crown Prosecution Service. That woman is black, as well as Stephen Lawrence being black. Both of them, Stephen Lawrence's parents and the woman victim of the sex therapist, were betrayed by the Crown Prosecution Service. And the news came the same week. It's not just the Crown Prosecution Service, the Metropolitan Police as well. Both cases, in both the Metropolitan Police and the Crown Prosecution Service, neglecting their duties to protect. Now, Camilla Long, in her comment, is supporting Sang Sunak, saying that towards the end of the great Sang Sunak shaming, I thought, please stop this human sacrifice. She is comparing the criticisms of Sunak's frontage of the Conservative Party and the government as a human sacrifice. And the smaller piece she has got about the second one, because the previously she wrote about visiting Clacton, and this is a follow-up about Farage. And her piece is headed Farage, Putin and a rather complicated admiration. I've often wondered what is it exactly that Nigel Farage has been infected by? Is it the fags? Or some terrible flesh-eating narcissistic disease? But on Friday, Voldemar Zelensky solemnly provided the answer: Putin. The virus of Putinism infects people, unfortunately. Zelensky's side. He was responding after a reform leader said he understood why Putin had invaded Ukraine. The European Union was wrong to expand eastward. Farage added that he admitted Putin as a political operator, but didn't. Now, Farage added that he admired Putin as a political operator, but didn't like him as a person. At which I wondered, doesn't like Putin as a person? What has he done? As far as I can see, almost nothing can make Farage dislike anyone as a person. He surrounds himself with people who openly say almost anything. Scan any online account belonging to a reformed candidate, and it's an explosion of political zombies, brain-dead leftists, rapists, terrorists, and scum. One side, Adolf Hitler was brilliant. Another, who happens to be my local candidate and would be surely getting my vote, said the king was weak. And under control of the World Economic Forum. Just what was it Putin said that Farage found so intolerable? That he wouldn't win in Clacton? We shall be, of course, continuing to diagnose the media in the episodes, the editions that follow. This is ending at just under 44 minutes long at 11:41 GMT on Sunday, 23rd of June 2024.